Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing Gears 5, and this is my insane difficulty guide and walkthrough. We are currently on Act 2-4. It is entitled The Source of It All. So, the video length for this act is very intimidating. I realize that. I am including all of the side missions that you can do on this. So, if you just want to get to the main campaign, all you have to do is, what I think I'll do is I'll just put some time codes in the description so that you can just click on them. So we will be doing the side missions after this first part, and we will be getting the special, like the ultimate upgrades for 3 of the first 4 skills that you get, and we'll get the shock trap one towards the end of the chapter. Shock trap, I think, is one of my favorite abilities other than the stim. But it's not an urgent thing that we need to get the upgrade for that. So we have an interesting fight over here, to be honest, and I do like to think that it is one of the more it's a unique fight. It's not difficult too much, but it for some reason it is imbued with this fog, so it's or this snow residue. I'm not really sure what exactly it is, but in this day and age, it's not draw distance. It's something like they are trying to make the fight a little bit more challenging. To me, it just makes the fight more boring. But the enemies are going to spawn from approximately the area that I'm shooting at now, up in that see that white square above the rail right there. They're going to be jumping down there. What you're going to have is snipers and 1 Scion with a drop shot. I'm taking away the enemy's pieces of cover here just for a little bit of fun. You don't have to do it. I like knowing that they don't have any respite for cover over there. It makes me a little bit more happy. So to get the fight to spawn, you approach the ladder. First you want to take him out, and then there's going to be one guy way up high, way up here. You can just shoot through the rail if you need to, but he's done with. And I've placed that shock trap there. Just I'm not really sure. It doesn't outright kill anybody, but it is kind of nice to know that they're dropping into that and possibly getting damaged. Maybe Dell's helping out. He does help out once in a while, but the main threat on this fight is either getting one-shotted by the snipers or the Scion hitting you. So anytime the Scion shoots his drop shot, as he just did right there, and it went way behind me, you have to activate your stim to save yourself. And if you want to, there are other places that you can go to on this fight. You can go to the main room if you want to, but I find that this is an adequate place to be. You can probably shoot the thing he's lurking behind too. Now you might say, well, what if he does the drop shot and it hits you, way back here a couple times in succession and the stim hasn't recharged? That is one of the drawbacks to that strategy right there, but you don't need a bunch of complicated strategies for that part. There's not that many enemies, and it's not that difficult, because you can just hide in this room if you want to, and just cower up here if you like. So, what, pray tell, possessed me to do the side missions? The side missions are actually much more interesting and challenging than the main campaign. So I thought that since that is the case, I want to do it for the fun of it, for the challenge of it, and to get the good upgrades. And people can watch it and get aided if they need aid. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is after we get this part over here, we're going to do the 2 the drop ship parts. I'm not sure exactly what they're called. They're those carrier ships that have the robots in them, and they're 2 crash sites. So that is that. Now I don't know exactly what ultimate upgrades we'll be getting in which order, but as we do the missions, they will pop up, so you'll be able to see exactly what it is and where it is. What also possessed me to do to do the traversing and leave the traversing in the video. Well, it doesn't take too long, quite honestly. And if you need to know where to go, you need to know where to go. So I don't mind including it. Condor, that's what it's called. Condor Crash Site. This is not too difficult of a fight. It's got a ton of good stuff over here that we're going to take with us to more challenging fights after this one. So what do you want for this fight? Shock Trap is great. Stim's pretty much a standard. I really like the Shock Trap though, because when you upgrade it, you can put 2 out without the first one blowing up or whatever it does. And it works on the same principle as does the... let me say this. At the outset of a fight, before you've spawned any enemies or aggroed the fight, you can have a shorter refresh time for the weapon. So that's why I put a couple of shock traps at the beginning of the fight, so I don't have to wait too long. So if we were in the midst of this fight over here, after we had put 1 shock trap down, we would have to wait longer for the shock trap to work. For the second one to recharge. So that's one thing to note, at least. And I think the the fucking shock trap has one of the most interesting upgrades. Not really, it's that it's interesting, but it's effective in a way that is helpful in a more expedient way. Other than things like when you upgrade the stim, you get 3 times the brawling damage on melee attacks. I mean, that could have a place in a particular part, but the utility is pretty narrow for that. So I'm going to pick up the tri-shot. We've got 60 rounds for this thing. We could pick up another one and get up to 140. But after you kill all the robots, you'll have those flocks coming back, and flocks are really easy actually. If they attack, all it does is they send a leech at you, and you tap the button to get out of it. It's very simple. So after this fight, though, we're gonna do the second of the 2 Condor Crashes, and it's very important always to know what you're taking into a fight and what you want to be checkpointed with, what weapons you want to be checkpointed with, and what skills you want to have like immediately, so you don't have to do any switching. I just don't like having to switch every time I die, because this is insane difficulty and you die quick. And the next fight has a difficult fight with a Kestrel on it, and it's pretty shitty cover. So we're gonna have to go in there with some good shit. And it has like a scenario that I think should have been used way more in this game than it does. Does appear of sliding down hills and hiding behind cover, and doing interesting things like that on different planes. I think you should have. I definitely think you should be on the ceiling doing combat in this game somehow with a gun, and a knife. I'm serious when I say that too. So anyway, you don't need to listen to me though. Anyway, just remember to get all the parts for this part, and what are we leaving here with? Because this part doesn't need to be talked about too much. What are we leaving here with? Well, torque. I would say get the torque. Get the torque. Put anything in the stow position of the skiff for yourself. Just remember that sometimes they will take away your stuff from. They always take it away from chapter to chapter in the skiff. Sometimes they also take it away if you're coming back to it from a long section. That's like a lot of scripted stuff in a particular area. You'll come back out and your stuff's gone. So that is something to look out for, because you don't want to put your tried and true stuff in there and just have it disappear. So I think, it doesn't matter what exactly, because I know that I'm going to be bringing this salvo to the fight. It carries 20 shots, so if you pick up a salvo and it doesn't have 20, just find another one and you'll get all of your rounds. And it's up to you what you want. It doesn't matter too much in the end. Marked for death, so we did get that one completed. So you can, from this area, the 2 weapons are the salvo That's the heavy weapon, and then the tri-shot. And like this one, just make sure that you pick up all of the ammunition for it, so you're not wasting opportunity over here. And yes, there is both of these weapons, these heavy weapons, they are available in the next place that we're going to, but you're not going to have the full ammunition for it. So the Kestrel is it can be really difficult to put down. So I'm always trying to recommend a state of preparedness going into a place, so that I'm serious, on restarts you don't have to keep fumbling around and messing around. So that's the first place completed. Okay, now we're going to go directly to the second of the 2 Condor Crash sites. Immediately as you get there, you'll notice a drop shot. There's also a component that I did miss over here by the site itself. I got it later, so just bear in mind there are a couple. I'll point them out, the area that they're in, once we get over here. We're also going to ride right past a Derrick site over here, but I wanted to make sure that I did these missions in pairs. So it's right over here where this flag is. And the first thing that spawns, well, let's actually just talk. What skills do you need? Stim, definitely, and then the shock trap is not really necessary. I would go with flash for right now. Just go with flash. Grab your weapon. It looks like did I stow a long shot in there? Yeah. One of the primary problems of this fight is not enough ammunition. Also, I will tell you at which point I would recommend getting the Retro Lancer Relic. Okay, so this whole video is just recommendations, so I'm not trying to tell you to do any particular thing all the time. Oh, I did switch to the shock trap. Okay, the thing is, you can't damage the Kestrel with flash or even affect it, so it's kind of strange. Execute this one, and then we're going to be going down. You need to have the ability to fetch heavy items from Jack on this. So, because the heavy weapon won't slide all the way down the hill, and you'll have to have him pick it up and bring it over to you once you finish all the enemies. So just like drop it like right over here, and it will fall down most of the hill. And if you go all the way down, you're going to be overwrought with enemies and not have. And if you aren't, you're still going to have problems of them being too close to you. So what you do to minimize those problems, just stay up here and deal with these enemies over here. And you want to come over here with a maximum amount of ammunition, so that you don't have to have any problems, running out of something. If you do run out, there is a weapon or two down there that you can pull up to you from here. But sometimes Jack will drop it at a place where you can't get it from just staying here, where you're crouched up here. But I just wish there were so many more parts like this. Maybe there would be parts that would, like crumble. Like in Uncharted 4, every piece of cover was like crumbly. That would be not good. But I had Jack bring over an M-bar over here because it's one of the weapons that is down there. Now, what this is you're shooting these pods and having these enemies spawn out of them. Once you actually touch down on the ground down there, you will have a bunch of the trackers rolling over to you. So you just really don't want to be down there dealing with those and dealing with these pods down here. You can control it by not shooting the pods until you're ready. But I just found that up here is just such a nice place to be. And how often do you ever do this in any kind of Gears game? So, do you see the pod at the very north part at the top, right above where I'm aiming now? That's where a heavy comes out, and he has a salvo, which we carried into this fight, if you'll recall. And right before you do the airplane fight in this part, you do get a checkpoint. So it's a wonderful checkpoint. But cover is really, really crummy over here when you're fighting the Kestrel. And just absolutely make sure that you have stim for the fight. So what's going to happen is that once we get to the fight, we're going to be checkpointed with our heavy weapon. So you have to be carrying the heavy weapon as you cross the checkpoint area. So I'll show you exactly where that is. And then once the Kestrel rises up, you can begin firing at it with either the heavy weapon, your salvo, or your tri-shot, whatever you've picked, or your grenade launcher, whatever you want to do. But see how we have to drag this over to us from here because it wouldn't come. There we go. Okay. But once see how we've come down here now, and then the trackers spawn. So you can't spawn them from up there. You have to actually put your corporeal digital stuff down here and deal with them. But you don't even need to waste any ammunition on them. You just need to kick them. Okay, and then grab ammunition over here because you're going to need a lot of ammunition for the boss. Once he comes up, though, this helicopter that I'm calling a he, I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna torque him because he's very vulnerable. Over here, right over here, this Kestrel checkpoint. Here he is. I'm gonna drop that and just use a torque because it's hard enough hitting him with the torque, but if he's stationary right in front of you, it's a good opportunity to do that. Now he has got a chain gun move, and then he's got the missile move. You're gonna probably get killed from the missiles that he spawns because the splash is just out fucking rageous, and you need to be as far away from him and hiding from him as you possibly can. And if you think he's gonna hit you with the missile, press the stim and avoid getting killed. A lot of times, though, he shoots the missiles so fast that your character gets staggered and you can't even use the salvo, which we haven't even used it yet, but we are going to use it, and we're going to take off a hell of a lot of damage from him. But you see how we have to be really careful, and once we know that he's about ready to shoot those missiles, we gotta just come back and forth over here. I think these are decent spots to hit him. See, he's at about half life. I can go up. We gotta be very careful, very careful. It's a combination of the splash of those and the pitiful cover over here. That's the big problem. But if you come here prepared, hopefully this won't give you too many troubles. This took me at least 2 hours when I first came upon it. I had no idea it was even over here. I was not prepared, and that's why it took a long time. And there's just shit for weapons in here and shit for refills, so it's a bad combination all the way around. And those missiles, man, those fucking missiles. There he goes. He's down. And I don't even think you get anything really good for this, but I'm just going through the motions, just getting everything, checking all the boxes so folks can get everything they desire. I mean, I think this might be the melee one where it does 3 times melee damage. That might have been the one we just got, but we'll check it out and see what it is over here. I will also note the position of one of the components I missed. What's in here? Is this just more brawler? Melee damage tripled while activating stim. I mean, I'm sure that has a place somewhere, but it's not the best upgrade in my opinion. Now, one of the components I missed, very sharp right over here, right over here somewhere, is where I missed it. There's one here too, but there's also one that I just missed. I think it's to the left. So, anyway, we have very minimal supplies coming off that fight, and we're going to have to really think hard about what we want to bring into this next fight because it is difficult. So what we're doing right now is we are going to be heading over to the next mission. However, I noted that the mission has a couple of boom shots on it, and boom shots are really helpful in clearing packs of enemies. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here a little prematurely over here to the North Comm Tower. We will be coming back to this area near the latter part of the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the boom shot relic, and I'm going to use it. And the perk for it is that you can shoot 3 times without reloading, so it's really cool, and it doesn't require any active reloading to activate the perk. If I had gone into the substation over here, I think I could have got the shock trap ultimate upgrade, but I wasn't really pressed to get it, and I am going to be coming back here directly, so I don't want to. I'm not sure why I didn't get it. I think because I didn't want to deviate off of the main thing that we're doing over here. And it's not to make excuses for myself. I probably should have just dropped in there and got it, but the thing will be there when we get back, so there's no hurry, and we'll get it. We'll get it presently. So nothing is hanging on us getting it. You know, nothing requires us to get it. It probably would be helpful on this part over here, but I've got a boomshot relic, and we can take care of what's going on over here. So the mission is right across the way from where the Condor crash was, right over here. So there's not much place they can hide over here. So it's called the Old Derrick Site, and for this mission, if I'm remembering it correctly, you just get some cooling equipment so that you can get the flash freeze upgrade. I'd like to talk really quickly about how I work this room over here. Now, the enemies that spawn are going to spawn from this location right over here. And unfortunately, you can't grenade tag walls and then go through a checkpoint and expect to see your grenades on the walls, or similarly, your shock traps in the environment. So that doesn't work. You have to plant them each time. So what I'm going to do is put a couple of grenades, as you just saw right there, to prevent any enemies from coming up and becoming, as Dell calls them, stowaways. And then I'm going to put a couple of shock traps over across the way down here, and then once everybody gets slowed down by the traps, I'm just going to let loose with the boomshot relic. There's also 2 boomshots up here as well, so to activate the fight, all you have to do is interact with the box, and then the fight will start over here. So it's a whole bunch of swarm, and then some elites, and then finally, without a checkpoint, there's going to be two pouncers. Yeah, pouncers. And they always come in pairs, so that shouldn't be a surprise. But this is a pretty manageable part, because you can do a lot of setup over here, and you've definitely got the height advantage. And if you are very quick to kill these enemies, you shouldn't have any trouble with them like boarding the ship over here. So if you don't have the boomshot relic, there's no worries, because there is a boomshot up here, and there's also a torque bow tucked in the corner, I'll show you at the end of the fight. And of course, you can use the Lancer GL. The main threat is when these pouncers jump up here, and they will go up to a part that you will get accustomed to if you die on this several times. So you definitely want to have stim. So if they come up here, you want to go directly beneath them. And if the other one comes up here as well, you may be incurring a death. But what usually happens over here is that once you kill the first one, for some reason the second one just kind of like vanishes or breaks through the geometry and just leaves the fight. I have no idea why, but the main thing though that you want to do is you want to have that stim in case you get hit, so that you can quickly put yourself back from out of death's door. And this might not be an instance where these enemies went out of the graphics and just left the fight and essentially broke the fight, which is if they do it, I don't mind actually, because it happens so often that I can't think of anything better to do than just call it a win, a forfeit. And sometimes they'll just do this, where they just stand in one spot being idiotic like this. So it's really not a difficult part. It's if you don't get a broken fight over here, you're kind of lucky. I mean, Do you want a broken fight? I guess you kind of do want a broken fight, but it's very common to have things go that way. And at this point, we are shooting. Oh, he's up there. See, he's turned away from us, and he is just doing his own thing up there. So, kind of a pathetic enemy in that it can so easily just stop working properly. And that's a big shame, because do you remember much stopping working properly on the other gears? You know, when Cliffy B was at the helm or whatever he was doing. And then of course you have the guy that directed this game. He left the studio, so everybody's just abandoning ship, and they're not even calling it the same goddamn game anymore. It's called Gears 5. What happened to Of War? You know? Just stop calling it the game that it's called. Very, very strange. Anyway, here's some more cooling gel over here. And that can be used towards our flash freeze. So that's one Old Derrick Site taken care of. There's one more. Oh, this is a stealth one. This one is actually kind of fun, but for some reason they once again, like the first fight in this chapter, they imbue the fight with fog. But we're not going to. It's not going to be a fight for our purposes. I'm gonna completely do it stealthy, and then we'll have to. You have to fight the. What's that fucking guy's name? The warden. You have to fight the warden after. So let's try to. I'm trying to think what you'll want to bring to this fight. Well, without question, you want to head back to one of the previous sites and grab a heavy weapon. And I've got to say, I really like being able to carry heavy weapons through parts. It's such a nice little addition to the game. It makes you feel like you're in control. But whatever happens, we're going to pick it up. We're not yet getting the Retro Lancer Relic weapon. And the reason for that is we just don't need it quite yet. We have got plenty of stuff over here. So you're not going to see me go back to the Condor site, but once you see me in this area, I will be... Oh, it's right here. It's on here, for God's sakes. 70? 70, is that supposed to be like that? Huh, no, that thing goes up to 140. I've got a tri-shot on over here. So this should not... well, let me see if my ammunition count goes up, because I probably did go back. I'm no fool. Is it at 140? No, it's at 70. Anyway, I really enjoyed this fight, even though it's a stealth section if you like it to be. Anyway, that's the first guy over there. I came in here with... like I said, with the tri-shot, and that's going to be exclusively for the warden, because I can't stand those wardens. So that's kill number 2 right there. Now these enemies up here, the main one that will see you is the one that's on the lower deck. The two snipers that are on the higher decks, I don't think that they have much of a chance to... Look at that. That's a goddamn nice execution that she has right there. Anyway, there is a long shot up here. If you want to pick that up. I'm going to go just outright all heavy with torque bow, flames, the flame grenades, and the tri-shot, because I don't want to fuck around with heavy. The heavy's at a location where you can't get up there. So obviously there's no stealth killing that. But even if you wanted to try stealth killing him, you can't even get up there. So you have to make noise at the end. And look at Dell's nice contributions. He stays back here for the entirety of the fight. Anyway, loop around here. And when this guy turns his back, get the prompt, take him out, double back. You can run up to enemies without them hearing you if you want to. But if you roll, they'll hear you. So bear that in mind. The fog is a nuisance over here, but it's something that actually does protect you from the visibility of the drones over here. Now that one is gone, we're going to double all the way back over here and deal with one more ground-based drone over here. And all we have to do is just make sure that the heavy turns around over here. We've got to do this quick because this guy is on a long cycle over here. Because he'll go around the tree, he'll go all over the place, and if you don't kill him quickly, you have to wait quite a long time for him. But that is almost the totality of everything that's going on over here. Two more kills over here. You want to position yourself. I'll show you exactly where you want to position yourself. If the game doesn't duck for you, make sure you duck all the time. You want to go to the far left of this and then just grab him. I've never had any problems of anybody seeing him, with the count being what it is now. And then now all it is one sniper and then that fucking heavy. I did this successfully like 10 times, and every time I would get so panicky about the heavy that he would end up just coming right over to me and just hitting me to death. But this actually worked out pretty good this time. I've got incendiary grenades that I'm going to go ahead and give this guy. And this is about where I make my stand. Come back over here. One of the problems is finding your weapon in the fog while you're trying to haste and you're trying to high, and meanwhile the heavy is winding his fucking horn over to you, bearing down on you, and you're just standing there, with shit coming out of your ass, and scared that you're gonna fail, and you probably are gonna fail. Here he is. Here's the heavy. Get a couple of grenades up there to him. I get so panicky about these goddamn heavies. I can't even tell you guys, but good damage on that. Really good damage. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to struggle to find my gun in the... See? I can't find it. There it goes. Accidentally pick up the Retro Lancer. And you definitely want the upgrades where you have a concussive blast for the flash freeze, so you deal him even more damage. And as long as you can get him flashed, you can tear him up with the tri-shot. I like that. I like that encounter. I do, because it's a little bit more than you're used to for stealth, but this game does stealth pretty decently for what, for not being a stealth game. I think it's pretty good. And it works well. I never have any big frustrations on it. So this should give us another upgrade over here. So to get this upgrade, you have to have done the two derricks and that tunnel that had Harambe in it in mission 2-1. And now since that's the fourth mission, we've done all of the four. We don't have the Seeker upgrade for the shock trap, but we will get it. All you have to do for that is get a couple of artifacts and find a body, and it's really easy. I've already shown you all of it. Basically, there's just one campsite that you have to visit. That was at the end of 2-2, and then visit the 2 substations, and that's all you have to do, as well as Harambe and the train tunnel. Okay, so now we're feeling good about ourselves that we did some good missions, and we're going to head back over yonder. And officially just start the level. So I do apologize that we have to start the level at 35 minutes into the video, but I didn't want to make a separate video just for those missions, because I needed to show where they take place in the course of the mission, because you can't access those missions, all of them, until you get to 2-4, which we're on now. Onward over here to the final part then. So I do have some advice coming up for these fights over here, but we don't really need to do much right now in preparation for it, because we're just going to the first of the 2 radio towers. As you can see, there's one over yonder. So the first fight, if I remember, there's a lot of running in environments that can possibly be dangerous. I don't think we have yet come over here, so we will be visiting the substation over here and picking up some of the details that Lena has left in her wake, so that we can get our upgrade for the various and manifold weapons in this game, one of which I believe is the Seeker for the shock trap. I like the shock trap quite a bit, and you'd really be foolish not to look into it. You really would, because once we get the Seeker ability, we're going to be doing much more damage than we're doing now with that. So in here, there's going to be a corpse on a bed. I think this is the corpse room. You don't have to investigate the corpse, but you do need to grab this. This is it's more than a collectible. It's part of the materials you need to do the mission. So the Lost Outsiders mission, it involves no fighting or anything. You're just picking up stuff. Okay, so I've got a Torque, I've got a Lancer GL, and Dell probably has a Gnasher. Gears 5. I mean, what can you say about it? I really just don't like this level at all. The next level is, I think, a little bit easier because it's not as easier to deal with, I mean. But this level is just way too long. But the next level you're on a skiff too, so it's just... It's definitely not as bad as like the Arkham Knight game where you're in the car the whole time, even though I never played it. But anyway, we've got a fight up here with, it's going to be a Scion, so I'm going to equip my Torque and endeavor to get a headshot on this bastard. He is going to be attended by some swarmers, and then as you push up, this fight's actually pretty difficult. You always want to have stim on when you're dealing with this kind of situation, so if you get torqued, you can revive yourself. I think I do have that happen to me over here at some point. But the inevitability of Dell falling in combat over here is an inevitability that's going to happen possibly multiple times over here. So this piece of cover here I don't like because it favors the left shoulder, and as you know, you can't use the left shoulder unless you do a trick that I've patented. But there's the Scion right there, fucking bastard. There go the red lines going outward, meaning we killed him with a critical and he's dead. And now Now you are going to be dealing with the remaining swarmers, and you can shoot the ice structures down and knock them on the enemies and instantly kill them if you get lucky. But as I say, as you push up here, you will be spawning some hunters. And I really like their voices and their little hissing sounds. It's really nice. It's a nice touch. But once we have the flash freeze, do you see what we have the ability to do? Since we did those missions, we can freeze an enemy and then shoot him and kill him. So you would definitely be well advised to do those missions. Doing them is a challenge in itself, and remember that you are making the game easier by doing those missions. So there's Dell's first down. If I cover this game again, I probably won't do the missions, because I might do a no upgrade run. But anyway, we've got just a couple of hunters over here, so feel free, if you have a lot of torque bow rounds, to shoot these guys with them, because you'll get your ammunition back over here. I'm not sure why exactly this fight is difficult, but I think it's just sometimes the game causes you to move slow when there's gusts of wind and stuff like that, or wind, if you want to call it that. If you want to be an idiot, like the person talking. But I think the only way I want to end this fight is by gutting somebody with a Retro Lancer. And you might say too, well, what's going on with the Retro Lancer? Why do you hold it in such high esteem? And maybe that doesn't happen over here. Doesn't matter. I don't mind it too much, but the Retro Lancer the Relic is fantastic, because you can break the ice really quickly with it, and it shoots explosive bullets. And you could also do the impalement with it too. And I think it just takes regular Retro Lancer ammunition. So that's something you definitely want to hold off on. And if you want to, you can be using it at this point. I'm just going to be picking it up on our way to the cliffs at the end of the video, because I wanted to showcase how much it takes to damage the ice. We'll be coming up with it in a minute. How much it takes to deal with the ice with something like the Lancer GL, and also with the to compare and contrast the Relic, Retro Lancer Relic. Kind of a weird word, but when you come up here, you will be shown a Harambe and a couple of grubbers down here. Now, I'm going to activate Stim so I have immunity, and I'm going to once again endeavor on a Scion to get a headshot and quickly finish him off. It's not easy to do that with a regular controller. Okay, though, you are advised, or it is suggested to you that you go to the left and flank the enemies. So if you want to do that right now, you can. If you want to wait a bit, you can too. The main threat on this is the elites that come as you move your way up. So as you move your way up to the left, I might put on pulse just to show you, well, just to show me too where folks are hiding over here. There is kind of a jump scare over here where some of the ice falls down, and it might, cause you to run away rabbit-like, just terrified. We do have, it's a mulcher. Fuck the mulcher. When you come up here, look, there's a little scare that does it. It's over here. So when you come up here, that spawns this enemy over here, who I think I'll use the pulse on to illumine. There he is, right over there. A bit of a coward. He likes to hide behind that rock. Pushing up, though, this is the next part of the spawn. Now you can incorporate different enemies into different parts of the spawn if you want to. You could make it a huge shitfest for yourself, and if you want, by having everybody come in. But probably what's going to happen to you is you'll get put down, because you'll either get killed by the hider over here behind the rock, the coward, or one of the elites. But as you push up this way, you will, in due course, see these two guys coming down, winding their horns. So we were able to freeze one of them, and now you want to get back to business. See about oh, unfortunately I can't use any of my skills because Jack has fallen in combat. But fortunately, Dell was able to give him a revive, and now I'm just trying to assess where the heavy is so that I can deal with him appropriately. See if we can... I think I knocked the helmet off of him first, because I remember as I played this, I remember hearing that metal clang of a helmet coming off. But that is it. If you want to bring the Mulcher along, you can. I don't really think you should at this point, because we've got plenty of good shit to go around for everybody. Everybody's got a good gun for themselves. We're packing a lot of heat as we move up here. So we've got some hazards over here. We've got low ammunition, so we are going to have to get some more ammunition. Maybe trade with Dell, give him some shit and give us the good stuff. You know. Man, this guide has been taking so long to make. I've had a lot of setbacks too, physically and mentally. So it's been very difficult too, and financially. So I've had any number of setbacks on a daily basis, causing the guide to go at a crawl pretty much. So I do apologize that I cannot be a guide shitter. It's just impossible for me to do that. Anyway. As you come on into this room, we are going to be doing a puzzle that I definitely give my seal of approval on, because it's so easy. You could probably do it even if you were lobotomized. Alright, let's hurry up. There we go. Power has been restored to the console. And then this tower is pretty much almost done with what we need to do over here. There's going to be some good stuff as you leave. And if you are trying to compare against what I have as far as the number of components, I have upgraded all 4 of the main skills completely. I've got a couple zapper skills purchased, because I think the zapper skills are very important for dealing damage to enemies. And I've got the fetch heavy, so at any time though we can just remove what we have and reapply those. But this is all you do. You just move these left or right, and as long as you get them all green at the end, you have completed the puzzle. That's my kind of puzzle. I started to really hate Uncharted for those puzzles that it had. It's too hard, you know. I have a very low threshold for this sort of puzzle shit. I hate puzzles. I really hate them. I can't do them, man. I can't do them. I'll have to delete the guide.
Weird amount of security for a comm tower.
Okay, is that a 5er? Oh shit, that's a 5. You can get 1, 2, 3, and apparently 5. I don't know if there's any 4s around. Okay, so that is the first of the 2 radio towers taken care of. The reason, if you really want to know why you need 2 radio towers to go through, is because Dell says that you need to have that much data in front of you to assess where some calls, some distress calls have come from New Hope. Some people are getting some help that way from, you know, those distress calls, but I'm not sure. Kate's just trying to find a way out. She's like I said, just really annoying. I fucking hate her. I can't even remember what the story was either. Because I thought that she was going to betray the cog and to get killed for it or something like that. Or be the new queen or something. And maybe she will be, but I'll be the last person to know for sure. Anyway, let's get back on the skiff. And this is the point where you would come back to your skiff after having put some good shit in it and realize that the game took it out for you, even though you haven't finished the chapter. So that's the kind of stuff that I really get irritated about, and that's why I don't really stockpile stuff in the skiff. Because there's no expectation that they'll give you back your stuff. They just steal your stuff. Remember on my Marlowe Briggs guide when I said PayPal had stolen my money? Same sort of thing where people are just stealing your shit. I hate PayPal after that incident. This bitch yelled at me pretty much and said, "You're not stealing. We didn't steal your stuff." And I yelled right back too. You know, yeah, you did. You goddamn stole my money and you won't admit it. But anyway, let's come on up here. And, you know, just follow the waypoint. Pretty simple. And we're going to be doing a confrontation that does allow you to do a little stealth at the beginning of it. Okay, now, do you remember way back early in the video when I came over here to get the boomshot relic for myself so I can use the boomshot 3 times, you know, in a row? Well, I could have just as easily gone into the substation as I mentioned, but it wasn't on the direct course, and it wasn't vital that I do it. So I am now going into this room, and we will, once we clear out the shitter that's in here, get our reward, which will be the upgrade for the shock trap. Sorry, it'll be called Seeker. And Seeker slows down enemies even more than it does before, so that they're kind of walking in quicksand, so to speak. And it also does, I believe, double the damage. So it's good, and you don't even have to do a single fight to get it. But here's the aforementioned shitter in here. He seems to be just a regular juvie. He might have a little bit more HP, I'm not sure, but it's definitely not like a boss fight or anything. Anyway, pick up your garbage down here, just a oneer. Get out of the fucking way, bastard. It's right in the way. There's the snub. I decided to snub it. Anyway, there's the safe. We'll pick it up. And this is possibly one of the best upgrades that we've got so far. Okay. And as I said, I could have got that earlier, but nothing hinged on my getting that. So now you might say, well, why didn't you just get it anyway? As I said, nothing, it didn't need to be got in the first place. And there's always time enough in the end to do things as you want to. And I decided to do it a certain way. And, you know, when I'm running a ship and I'm making the guide, it has to be my way or the highway. What do we have here? A 3-1? 3. Okay, now we're going to be running up here. And I've got the shock trap on and the stem. We're now going to be introduced to a mechanic whereby you shoot thin ice that enemies are standing on to knock them into the ice and instantly kill them. So it's a wonderful mechanic. But I wanted to show the difference between using this weapon, the Lancer GL, and then later we'll use, when we do the cliffs part, we'll use the Retro Lancer Relic, and you'll see how quickly enemies get dropped as opposed to using a weapon such as this, which, as you will be seeing, does low damage. So this starts out as whatever you want it to be. You can do a stealth part over here, or you can start dropping enemies. Since we're going to be doing a lot of enemy dropping, I decided to just do this stealth. I don't know if she does just random executions on them, or if It depends on how far away you are, but she does some really nice and different and varied executions on enemies. So those are the first enemies. Now, why after killing that elite did I activate stim? It's because I always get one-shotted after that by the sniper. And I hate not having a long shot over here, but you can't always have what you want at all times. So as you come up here, notice there's a couple of frags on the ground. And there's going to be a couple of elites walking over to us, winding their horns. And to quickly drop them, I'm going to use the grenades. There is a flanking position to the left, which you can avail yourself of. But if you aren't too careful, you can end up walking right up to the heavy, because if he thinks you're going to the left, he'll come down that path and wind his horn over there. So what I would recommend is use flash freeze on that sniper, get him taken care of, come up here, throw a grenade, and drop as many of these guys as you can. So, done deal. Done deal. Just replace your grenades that you used, and then we'll be on a fight that is... It's a decent fight, although it's got shitty cover, and I really criticize it for that, but it's a bad example of a fight that has a wrongly placed checkpoint, and I'll talk about that. Oh yeah, this is really bad. So here's how this is. You see this safe? You can't come back to this safe after the next fight, so they require you to get the contents of the safe every time. Now, what is it exactly? It's just three component parts, but if you're anything like me, you can't just pass over component parts like that. If it was just one, I probably wouldn't care. But I've got a really great exploit for this part over here, because if you just drop down and go forward a little bit, or you might not even have to go forward, you will trigger a cutscene and you will get put in front of the rocks where Dell is crouching behind now. But if you stand up here, you can shoot a good deal of these enemies and drop quite a few of these, because what you have is a plethora of rejects down there that will all shamble over to you, and then you've got a stump that is attended by a new enemy called a bastion, and a bastion will put a shield around an enemy and make that enemy invulnerable until you destroy the bastion. The bastion being the flying thing that hovers near to where the enemy being protected is located. So there is a cutscene down there, but I have trimmed it out, and it will show the bastion. But we will be fighting another bastion coming up on a difficult part, and I just wanted you to know that destroying the bastion is a high priority, because in this case down here, the bastion puts a shield around the stump, and we cannot do anything to the stump until the bastion's taken care of. They have a pretty decent amount of life. If you experiment with them, you will find their critical red spot, where when you shoot your gun at it, the bullet will have a red hit marker. So it's in the middle somewhere. So if you just zoom in, you can see a little bit better. But you want to take care of all of the rejects that come over to you. Frag grenades are terrific, but as you can see, this weapon is pretty low damaging, and it's not destroying the ice too fast. The ice comes back, and it's actually a really fun aspect of the fight over here. But one of the problems about this fight, so you can't go back up there, is that you'll get damaged by those little worms, or whatever the shit he sends out. What are they called? Leeches. You'll get damaged by those, and then you get put down by the rest of the gunfire. So here he's sending out more, and after this fight, you will fight a a warden, but he's not too difficult, quite honestly. Now we were able to freeze him and deal some terrific damage on Bastard over there, and as you can see, we've got a pretty good idea of where his weak spot is. And with the Bastion taken care of, we can just focus on killing this thing. And that's exactly what we did. But the Bastion it's kind of the new equivalent of what the flying were they called, shepherds or trackers or something, in Gears 4, how they had that enemy that flew around. I can't remember the name of it, but that's the new flying enemy, and it puts a whole new dynamic on to a fight, and it's I actually do prefer a Bastion to those other flying enemies. They have a fair amount of HP too. So here's the aforementioned warden. These wardens are just, I don't know. They remind me of like a Jason Voorhees type of enemy that will just come at you kind of slowly, but then when it starts really whining its horn, it will just come at you ferociously, and it will travel at a speed that it doesn't seem like it should be that fast. And then when it hits its mace, good God, you've got to be on the other side of the planet practically to avoid damage over here. And also, there's a checkpoint over here that I picked up those weapons, and then I got a checkpoint over here, didn't I? No, we got a checkpoint before, unfortunately. Yeah, there's no more checkpoints. So each time you restart this checkpoint, you have to get those ammo boxes. But we have another scenario where we have a stealth situation with some rejects. Some of these are not applicable to the fight, but as you know, I like to take care of everybody in a fight. Any reject that can't be stealthed, I will finish him off. But you're going to be coming up here, taking care of some of them. And once again, you need to activate the stim to avoid being detected. This guy you don't have to do it on, but as you're walking towards this thing, activate stim and quickly execute it, because if you don't use stim there, the one on the ground there will rise up and try to do his thing to you. You can pick up the contents of that safe without reprisal, but if you don't have the stealth ability for Jack, where he can bring to you items in a stealthy way without people hearing, they will hear you. So doesn't matter anyway, because that's as much as we can do with an enemy that's sitting on the ground, for God's sakes. So nice. So now we're going to go into this next area. I'm sorry. I almost passed up those. Get them while they're hot, right, Cole? I love Coltrane. Anyway, now we're going to come on in here and do another simple little game. You know what game I've been missing a lot lately? I wish it was on like the Android phone. Do you know the vampire chess game in Lords of Shadow? I think that game is really a fun like pastime. I find it fun. I know it's all luck based and things like that, but I found it fun. And I know you might want to question my sanity after such a statement like that, but God damn it. The game came out a decade ago, man. Jeez. Games have got progressively degenerative. They've been turning into non-games. It's really sad, actually. But for whatever, however, often I call this game Gay 5 or the Jackson 5, Gay of War Judgment 5. It is, by God, still a fucking game, and that's important. And I will always cover games.
Got another signal
You know,
It's gotta be.
God of War 2018. I regret covering that. I hated that fucking game. It's garbage. It's pure trash.
Jack, off this line.
That is. Is that a game, Buck Benedict? I mean, what do you think, Buck? Yeah, it's a game, but it's trash though. A game can still be trash. Cloak. We have a new ability, everyone. Cloak. This is actually a really fun ability that you get. And I'm immediately going to purchase the ability that gives you a 15% boost in speed while you use the cloak. So you can do that when you're just traveling the world map too. But with the cloak, you can stay camouflaged and you can execute enemies at your leisure provided that you're still in cloak. And it is an overpowered move that is still fun and definitely, try your hand at it for sure. Look at these powers we've got. It's so fun to use these skills.
Going back to the skiff.
I do think that this game has a lot more to offer than like a Gears of War 4. Because Gears of War 4 was just fucking boring. So boring. But the additions that they've added, being able to survive a torque, that's pretty groundbreaking. Because we've always wanted to survive a torque. We've always wanted that second chance on Insane.
What are you actually asking?
But man, they've got a lot of learning to do. What you die with should be what you start with. It's not that difficult. Anyway, now we're off to see where this transmission source is. It's on the ice lake. And I do apologize, but we are going to be going on the skiff and going after that Retro Lancer Relic gun that I've mentioned. So I'll show you exactly where that is. And you guys, this is not like the best weapon in the entire game that's going to save your ass and cause you to have no hardships, but I really think it has a lot of important things to bring to the table as far as how good it can be about breaking ice. Because the torque bow can break ice fast too, but the torque bow is not as fast as a gun that has rapid fire, So it's right over yonder. You just go up to the source and use pulse. I parked way too far away from it, so I do apologize about that. I'll activate cloak and go a little bit faster though for you.
There's nothing here.
Okay, so we need to go to the cliffs to get some explosives so that we can detonate this area and get our shit. Look at Dell. Poor Dell.
How do we get down there?
Alright, so jump on the skiff, and now we'll go find that Retro Lancer Relic. And in so doing, we might come across some component parts, we might not. But you're always welcome to check out YouTube, of course, and go for all those relics. Yeah, there is a relic over here by the train, but it's just one. It's pretty disappointing. Anytime you see like broken down pieces of plane or anything out and anything that's distinctive from the rest of the environment, might as well check it out and see what's over there. It probably is a component part or something like that. But when I first came across this chapter, I was really flustered because it seemed too big. But now, having gone through it like 3 times, it's really small in my mind. So anyway, the Retro Lancer Relic is past the second gate that you go to. So see, that's the second gate over to the left. Cog sign on the rock up there, and then it's right under this tree over here. And I do apologize. There's going to be some really complicated weapon switching coming up, and decision making of extreme import coming up over here. But what I want to do is put something on the skiff, give something to Dell, and end up having the Torque and the Retro Lancer on the appropriate spots, of course. And I was just thinking, I really haven't used the Lancer too much in this game either. I haven't, been going like crazy trying to chainsaw people either. Because you just, I don't know. It's either because I haven't used it too much and haven't had the opportunity, or it's just too risky. It's too slow. Or, its sister gun is just too good. But I would venture to say that gun is a little weaker than the Lancer. I wish I had some kind of a guide that would give me all the number data, so I could see exactly what is the strongest. We all good? Nope, not all good. I've got to switch these weapons. I need the Torque on the left. I'm just anal about it. We all set? There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we are headed over to the cliffs, and this is an area that will lock you in. So make sure that you've gone through all the areas, picked up what exactly you want, searched everything, and then just have things the way you want. It's a difficult part, but it can be overcome. So don't need to worry about anything like that. Anyway, what you need to do is head over here, take a left. That was the substation that we were in earlier. Okay, and then there might be something amidst this wreck over here, but I don't recall there being anything. But no, you can always look. Don't take my word as a final word of definitiveness. But there is something over there by the train, and then it's up this hill over here. I'm having some controller issues where it's not obeying what I want it to do. But directly below us should be the area where in 2-1 we were accosted by Harambe. Do you remember that rape scene at the end? It was pretty horrific, but now you know why creatures like that have to be shot and put down. Poor old Harambe. Anyway. Look at this shit. I can't even reverse. Sometimes I don't think it even has a way to reverse. So come on. Just grind your goddamn gears. Let's head on down the hill. Let's get moving, man. Fuck you, Dell. Yeah, I think I am going to have to say fuck Dell as a tried and true sentiment at this point, because he constantly gets in my way when I'm trying to throw grenades or do a torque bow. He just gets in my ever-loving way and gets me killed, or prevents me from doing what I want to do. So hard shit coming up. Oh boy, this is pretty difficult, and it's a strange situation for me personally, because I did this part within about 20 minutes of first sitting down, but for some reason I was dissatisfied with the footage, so I did have to restart the previous checkpoint over here, and 3 hours later I was able to do it again, and it's just a complete mess of a fight. You've got so many things just bombarding you, and it is a difficult situation overall. And the position that I'm going to take is that this fight is pretty much it's pretty much trash. I mean, I hate the enemy type of a juvie. I just hate it. I think it's just a boring enemy, and I can't stand it. I can't stand waves of them. But you have a wave of them at first. You've got stationary enemies, and then you have some scions, and you've got some shotgunners. So the position you'll see me at is going to be at the on the platform to the very right. It'll be the left as we enter this fight. So it has a good checkpoint at first, and it's a very short scenario here, and then you get to the more difficult part. So I felt bad about using this weapon to break the ice because it's so easy to break the ice with this weapon until I started using the Boltok, and it's just as effective. So it's not like I have a huge advantage with the Boltok Relic. It's just for some reason the Lancer GL, that was nice, really nice. I love doing that. It's just the Lancer GL does very weak damage on the ice. But one tip you can try to do is shoot the enemy like on their foot and the ice, and it seems to knock them into the ice a little bit faster. But on this first part, the Scion with the drop shot, just freeze him and just execute him with whatever means you want to. And this is the position I'll be at over here. And if you're going to get killed to anything on this goddamn fight, it'll be a juvie. And you can take your pick on what type it is, because there's the standard ones, and then there's the ones that have grenades on them. Equally deadly, though, at times, because if your focus is elsewhere, they're just going to sneak up on your blind side and cause you no end of grief. So my thought was, we'll just grenade tag the area, and that will prevent some of the problems. And it does. It does, but I wish it would just save the fact that you put grenades on parts through checkpoints and also shock traps. But here it is. Here's the first part. You've got the juvies, and then you have some shotgunners. Don't pay much heed to the stationary enemies, because when the Bastion comes out, you can actually get them to have the shield on them rather than the ultra heavies. But the ultra heavies will have, I mean, not ultra heavies, I guess it is the Scions, because you'll have them. But I got so frustrated that I started to use the shock traps over here to protect me, as long as with the frag grenades. So it actually works good, but you want to wait until there's a lull in the fight. This lull, it'll happen between. See, the problem with trying to flash enemies and see with the torque bow, it has no reticle until you start aiming. So when you start aiming, that's when you have to shoot. So here is the first Scion. He has a boom shot. Sorry, he's got a boom shot. So you need to put him into the ice, freeze the Bastion, who has way too much HP. They should have a little bit less HP, in my opinion. But you just need to make sure that you have frag grenades behind you and 1 or 2 shock traps. So in the lull, if you can manage it, if Del doesn't kill enemies and things like that, and it does work. There is a distinct lull between the first wave over here. You want to place, if you can, at the base of the stairs, you want to place 2 shock traps and also some frag grenades as well. I was only able to place 1 shock trap because something happened with an enemy, and the fight advanced, and I just couldn't wait. There's a long regeneration time for it. But here's the lull right over here. So I am going to place 1 shock trap right there, and it does a lot of aid to you, especially if you have it all upgraded. And before this fight, you want to make sure that you have every skill that's offensive purchased for yourself over here. Just remove the ones that aren't helpful. And if you do need to reset from the previous checkpoint, it's in the previous area, so it's not too far back. and you can get everything the way you like. But I've got a little bit of protection over here from people sneaking up on me. We do have you have 2 Molcher Scions with 2 Bastions, so it's a little bit ridiculous. You have a compromised grenade arc when you're up here because the wall is so high. Fortunately, because it's so high, you can shoot these enemies without getting killed. This weapon is a little dangerous to use as well because of the splash of your own bullets. So just remember, the main priority here is just to get those heavies into the water so that the shield can be transferred to another enemy that's not as threatening, preferably one that's not a hornwinder and is a stationary enemy. You need to leave the stationary enemies in the fight. That's going to have more people shooting at you, of course, but you do want to make sure that shield gets shifted and then those bastions get taken care of. There's so many times where I hit Jack because he's flying around too, and I mistake him for the bastions. And in a perfect world, when this happens, when you freeze the bastion, you'll be able to hit him critically and have him just shatter with the ice freeze. But I'm pretty sure they can survive a torque, which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But that is how to manage that fight. And good luck to you because that is a tricky encounter. But I hope that what I imparted to you is going to be helpful for you in clearing that fight. It's not impossible. It's just a challenging fight. But overall, pretty trashy in my opinion. So we've finished that, and now we're going to be coming up here. We will be coming back this way after we do a boss fight that is coming up in a moment. And I don't think you should need to worry too much on the boss fight. I think what I'm going in is with a Torque and a Retrolancer Relic, I think. And by far, what you want to do is heavily offensive attack on the Snatcher up here. It's not a very difficult boss fight, but it's heavily based on a term I don't use too much, but called RNG. So what that means is that you have a lot of random factors that will occur in this fight, such as the boss doing attacks that have been slowed down a little bit, but they're still quick. And you've got the inevitability of lackeys, so it's very disappointing. And what I'm going to do is recommend that you have the shock trap on, you've got the torque bow on, or any other damaging weapon that you want, and you want to immediately lay a shock trap for him because he stays in place a lot. So start your attack with that and start torque bowing him. And it shouldn't be that much of a hardship to take this guy down because of the onslaught of moves that we'll do on him. We do have the Brawler ultimate upgrade with the stim, which allows us to do triple melee damage while stimmed. And we are going to be stimmed a decent amount of time to negate damage that we're incurring. So definitely take a look for that because when she uses the knife, there's a flashing to it, a flashing part of the knife, and you can tell that you're enabled to do that ultimate upgrade, which means that a juvie takes 1 hit, whereas he would take 2 before. So pretty inconsequential, don't you think? But still, the combat in this game is really lacking about the knife. I really don't like using the knife, and the juvies will hit you sometimes just because they get an attack and you can't do anything about it. So here's the onslaught, shock trap instantly, and then a torque bow like I mentioned. When he stomps, he releases these enemies over here. So what I would recommend is to keep your head on a swivel constantly. So put the sensitivity all the way up as much as you can, suited for your own needs. But that's the move I mentioned right there. He has a stomp. He has this flame breath that's an instant kill, and he's got his quill, which has been slowed down because before you had very little chance to deal with it. It was ridiculous. So it feels much more fair in this game. However, you get hit with it, you die. So that's how it goes. But having the shock trap upgrade all the way, especially with the ultimate, the Seeker ability, is your key. Is your key here? Absolutely your key. And if you come here and you don't have things the way you like, go to the previous checkpoint, unspec everything, and put them towards what you need. That's one of the strengths of this game. That you can do that at any time that you want to. The problem, of course, as I've mentioned many times in this game, is that you're locked into what you enter the checkpoint with. So I've mentioned why that's a problem so often, and you know, I don't need to keep regurgitating it over here, but I think we were able to, there was enough time in this battle that passed that we were able to put a second shock trap down there. So that's good, because it takes a long time to regenerate. Bastards down. Go around the room, pick up your stuff. You have an escort mission coming up, but it is by no means difficult, and you're not going to be wanting to kill yourself like I was when I was doing the Protect the Translator section in God of War 2. The worst part of that game for sure. But here the escort mission starts, so this is one of the few times in the game where you don't have Jack to assist you. So any time that you think you might want to use Stim real quick, or have him get a weapon that's on top of a box because you can't jump in this game. No, I'm just kidding about that. I know this is a non-jumping game, but he can't do it. So he has got a jar full of explosive material, and we need to guard him as much as we can. Make sure that you have a look around the room and pick up everything that you need to. And then we'll be moving on to the next area. This is all on the same checkpoint, so this took me, I think, I mean, it was basically a first attempt, because some of the other stuff that I was doing was I was just messing around, and I wasn't even trying to do it. But I'm not one of those people that says that, you know, that I did something on a first attempt, and I'm feeling so good about myself. I did it on the first try. You know, I'm not one of those people. Occasionally it happens, but sometimes when I watch videos of people talking on their stuff, there's too many times that they say it was their first attempt or something like that, and it's just no way that, you know, nobody is that good or that lucky. So I really doubt when they say that kind of stuff. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, sometimes I do overestimate how long things take me, because I seem to have a poor sense of time. And before I go on that tangent, I do need to talk about try not to hit the pods. Now, what did you see me do right there? I was hitting the fucking pod. Yeah, that was true. I was hitting the pod, but there are some screamers in some of these pods, so you need to be careful of that, because you don't want every juvie in the room coming after you at the same time. But yeah, I think I mentioned that it took 92 hours to deal with the translator, protect the translator section in God of War 2, my no upgrade run. Plus, of course, I don't know exactly how long it took, but I added up everything that every video that I had that was going into the trash can, and it was about that long, or somewhere within that range of like 90 to 100 or 75 to 100. I have no idea, but it took a long time. I mean, a week? Is a week accurate? No, it was not singular. It was weeks. So Jack makes no effort to protect himself. He just hangs around. So it's kind of frustrating, but you definitely want to take care to watch out for that fucking heavy, because they will they will give you a rough time. I love the sound effects though. They're heavy breathing and they're inside their helmet. It's beautiful. And when you think about it, this game has a lot of overtly great features that just think about all the abilities that you get and the things that you can do and the freedom that you get to do so many extra things in this game. Compared to every other Gears of War where it was just a gun and you're fighting with just the gun. But those games were so great that that was all that was needed. So apparently they had to go a little bit extra on this, but the combat is garbage, really garbage. When you're just trying to use the knife, because it takes 2 swings of the knife, and there are moments when a juvie will just fly at you, and you cannot use the knife, even if you're just pressing it as ferociously as you can. They get the hit, it doesn't matter. So I think that's horrible that happens, and yeah, I think it was definitely a mistake to not let you use the weapon-specific melee attacks, because that would be far more interesting than just using a knife, because a knife is just one thing, but the weapons, when you use them, they all have their strengths and weaknesses, and they could have even incorporated different types of moves so that... Get the fuck out of my way, you fucking faggot. God damn it, that just pisses me off so much. Get the fuck out of the goddamn fucking way. I'm not talking about like God of War combat, you know, maybe just like Conan level combat. Just something a little bit better than just pressing a knife. And I still hold true to what I say. You should be on the ceiling, hitting and shooting at different times, sliding down things, going vertically. They could have done so much stuff. And then whoever made this game was Rod Ferguson or whatever the hell his name is. He left. So Cliffy B left, Rod left, and you know, who else is going to leave? Why are you leaving this? Why are you leaving this? I mean, they're just abandoning everything it was. I mean, it was called Gears of War. Now it's just called Gears. I don't understand it. You know, everything good just gets abandoned. And then you get stuff like Tomb Raider, you know, the latest game where there's hardly any combat in it. And I never played it, but... Anyway, I got a beautiful shot on a headshot on a Scion over here. What's this guy have? I'm trying to remember. A boom shot? If so, oh no. If he's the one that says suppressing, he's using a mulcher. Aiming over my left shoulder, out of cover, did a torque bow headshot. Nice. I'm the best. What does that say? There's an achievement here, but I've got the quality so low I couldn't read it. If you want to, too, you can go on top of the tower and go up there. Do the juvies go up there? They don't. Nope. That would be interesting if they did, sort of like being in the tower in Ninja Gaiden 2, and those ninjas would flip up to you, and you know, you would be shitting your pants the whole time. And that's it. Bit of run back over here. You can quick step up higher levels too when you're on the run like that and you're going quickly. Just as you can do a roadie run into a cover vault, you can also quickly step up to another surface by holding the sprint button and then pressing A. You can also release the sprint button when you're pressing, or is it B? Whatever it is, you know what it is. So Jack has 36% of his health left. So I imagine that's pretty common. But now what we have to do is run back to the skiff. And I would run a little bit faster with the cloak if I could, but Jack is still indisposed and I can't access his features. So we're going into the fifth and final chapter of Act 2. If you don't like the way that I say, like at the introduction of my videos, like 2 dash whatever or 1 dash whatever. That's just a common verbal shorthand that I use. So I do apologize if I'm not saying, what the chapter is, but it's always an act and then it's followed by the chapter. So just follow the waypoint back. You'll be okay. Over an hour and a half video. Took, I think there was 8 audio sessions of doing it. I do them in spurts. And I will see you in the next chapter, like I said, and it's entitled "Dirtier Little Secrets." It's an allusion to an earlier Gears of War 2 title, and it's once again an example of how this game has a deficit in ingenuity and creativity, and resurrecting old ideas and recycling them and doing it in a worse job than they were done before, which is the testament to a truly unoriginal game that is essentially just aping the ideas of its predecessors, and that's a real shame. But I will see you in the next chapter. For Bic Benedict Productions, my name is Bic Benedict. Please take care as we transition to the next chapter. Take care.